welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so let's wrap up talking about the leaks from @NotYourWatches. Now, this is the fourth video I've made. If you haven't seen my other three videos, links in the description, but this will be the last time I talk about these leaks until after the watches in 2023, the Rolex releases drop, and we'll revisit this just to talk about whether he was full of crap or if next year we should listen to him a little bit more closely. So the first I'll talk about is the two-tone rose gold Submariner. Now, outside of the Rolex sphere, this really isn't a big deal because it's pretty much what we have, but instead of being a yellow gold piece, it's a rose gold piece. But inside the Rolex sphere, it's kind of huge because rose gold has always been in the realm of the GMT Master 2 with the root beer and the solid gold root beer, and we've never seen any rose gold on a Submariner. And so if you like rose gold and you love Submariners, this could be huge for you. And I think it indicates that in the future, we can expect a solid rose gold Submariner of some sort. So I think the most interesting thing is what it predicts if it's going to happen. So there's that, all right? Now, the other thing was the Milgauss. And if you haven't seen my Milgauss video, check it out. But this pretty much aligns with what I was saying. Now, I was hoping that it wouldn't come with the crown guards. It appears to be pretty much the same Milgauss, but with crown guards. And of course, it's going to have a new movement. And again, it's boringly characteristic of Rolex, and that's part of the reason why I'm starting to think these leaks might be accurate, because it's exactly what you would predict Rolex to do. They are that conservative and that boring a company. So if somebody is trying to pull the wool over our eyes, then at least they understand how Rolex works. They're not trying to impress us. They're trying to bore us into believing these leaks. And again, really, it just looks like a new movement in a regular Milgauss, but of course the case has the crown guards. And I always like the Milgauss without the crown guards, so I don't think this is really aesthetically a good thing, but of course functionally speaking it makes sense because it does protect the crown. And the parallel between the Air King and the Milgauss has always been there, and so I guess it continues. Now, again, as I pointed out in this video, will there be a Faraday cage? That's the big question. That's the most interesting question. And will there be any dial colors? But what we're seeing here, if this is to be believed, well, Rolex is doing what Rolex does, playing it really conservative and just giving us a watch with a new movement and a slightly different aesthetic, perhaps to differentiate it from the older pieces. And if you are going out and thinking the Milgauss is going to be discontinued and speculating on it, I think that's a mistake, assuming that this is wrong and that they really are going to discontinue it. But again, I don't think they are, because this is going to be the Milgauss that goes for a little bit more, even though I think this Milgauss is aesthetically speaking better. But of course, you got to watch that crown, right? It's not going to be as protected as this version. And then last, the most unimpressive thing was the addition of the Oysterflex bracelet on the 116506. All right, that's the Daytona. And if you love your Oysterflex bracelets, then I guess this could be for you. I'm not much for the Oysterflex straps, and I really don't get them on a precious metal piece. The incongruence between rubber and precious metal is just too much for me, and I don't really get it. If it was a steel watch thing, I could understand it, but you know, it's almost like most people have just come to grips with it, and I guess have had enough Rolex Kool-Aid that it just seems normal. Yeah, so rubber and platinum, rubber and gold. But to me, it just is odd, and I haven't had enough of that Rolex Kool-Aid to totally accept it. But anyway, it's an option if you love the Daytona, but you don't like the platinum bracelet. I don't know who would not want the platinum bracelet, but I'm sure there are people out there. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit cheaper, but when you're spending that much money on a watch, is that a little bit going to be much different? And really, this is all about filling in the gaps, just low effort, putting configurations into the catalog that might as well be there. And speaking of configurations that should be there, a Jubilee root beer. All right, so we have it on the Oyster bracelet. Why not a Jubilee bracelet version? That just makes total sense. There's nothing like a Jubilee braceleted root beer. Those are classic, and it's kind of odd that we haven't had that yet. And if Rolex is sort of filling in the gaps, for example, the rose gold two-tone Submariner and the Oysterflex on the Daytona, if they're just filling in the gaps, then they might as well fill this glaring gap in. So there you have it. We're all caught up with the leaks from @NotYourWatches. And initially we thought these leaks, this one and this one, came from Philip Stahl. The leaks look like the type that Philip Stahl used to release in the past, the picture of pictures in the catalog. And so many people, I think, thought, hey, this is typical Philip Stahl, and he's never been wrong before. But these, again, didn't come from Philip Stahl. He hasn't since posted anything. I guess this watermark dissuades him from doing that. But we have to keep in mind that this is a new person and a new source. And so while I was sure that these leaks were real, thinking they came from Philip Stahl, I'm a little bit less sure. But bottom line, do I think they're going to happen? Yes, I do. I am buying these leaks and I think they're going to happen. I could totally be wrong, but they look legit, and I can imagine the catalog is being printed and somebody has access to it, just like it was with Philip Stahl, and they're taking pictures, and that's what we're getting. And here's a big one. They're pretty underwhelming, pretty boring, pretty conservative. It's textbook Rolex, and that's what swung me to thinking they're real. But we're not going to know for sure, and so don't do anything drastic. Don't run out and buy a BLNR if you don't want to. Apparently, according to Not Your Watches, they're not going to discontinue the Batman. So we'll just have to wait and see. I've enjoyed talking about the watches, thinking about them. So whatever happens, it's been fun. And we'll see the next time we talk about Not Your Watches, if he was full of it or if he was bang on correct. And we'll talk about that post 2023 Rolex releases. Let me know what you think about these leaks. Are you buying it like me, or are you a little bit more skeptical? And if so, why? Let me know what you think. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.